Would you fly 7 hours to see elderly relatives for holidays, then stay with family in a hotel for 2 days? Is this unsafe given the pandemic? Note that the destination state requires a test or 14-day quarantine. So I included this not because I think we can answer it, because I think you need to know more about everyone's risk tolerance and the particularities of how careful people are being and all of this. But I wanted to just say this out loud because I suspect that this is something that a lot of people are wrestling with right now as the holidays approach. How is it that after, 2/3 of a year of almost of some combination of lockdowns and just complete disorder at almost every level of life, how valuable are the shared memories that you would create around holidays together, which is so often a time that families see each other who don't otherwise have time to see each other. What is a break, for people who have an annual tradition, for whom that part of the annual tradition has actually not yet been disrupted? What might disrupting regular traditions that occur at that level of cyclicity do to further cause disorder? And I don't know, but I think it's potentially big. I think that there's been so much disruption this year, but there's like tether on the holiday season that can mean a lot of different things for a lot of different people. For some people, it's Thanksgiving. For some people, it's Christmas. For some, it's, Hanukkah isn't a real holiday, but it's
it's a minor holiday.
I know. I didn't mean not real, but for most people, there is some holiday at the end of the year that feels like the thing that they experience, that they return home for, the solstice, and giving up on all of that may create even greater sort of mental health disruption than we've yet seen. That said, people often complain about the family time around holidays. And missing it might actually reveal that it wasn't as bad as you thought. So there's a lot going on here, and I don't know the answer.
Yeah, I think it could be very hazardous in the sense of the annual check-in that people typically experience may have a calibration function that we don't.
Missing it could be hazardous, is what you mean?
Absolutely. Obviously, there's a huge danger of not a super spreader event, but a super spreader moment where people are gathering and suddenly versions of the virus are spreading around, which could be hazardous in its own right. One thing I would say that I think we have been discovering of late is, and this is actually a perfect model for what we were talking about before, about the oscillation between left and right. At the moment, we have two narratives about virus and carefulness surrounding it, both of which are wrong. And the little bit of travel that we have just done and the gathering with people where we have seen very few outside of our immediate circle for 2/3 of a year has revealed that there's a problem. Also, the change in season. All of these things have revealed that there is a problem with the fact that we have not reached agreement on what we are trying to accomplish, and therefore how to collectively make good decisions. In other words, there should be some discussion before you gather with people about how you're going to minimize the chances that if one of the people at the gathering has COVID, that it will not spread to others. In other words, is there an opportunity to meet outside? What is the code of conduct with respect to masks? Does the fact that I'm not wearing a mask while we are meeting outside mean that I am against masks? No. So, basically it would be great if a socially distant group outside didn't wear masks because they're unnecessary, put them on without anybody having to remind anybody as you go indoors, that you spend as little time as possible in very enclosed spaces. You prefer rooms that are larger. You prefer windows that are open. You prefer fans that are on.
Yeah. It's really tough to do for most of the country, though, in November and December.
Right. So what that means is that all of these things have changed. And so what we've discovered is that we had a really good pattern that we were all in on, and it just became
We, the four
habit.
of us and our family here.
Our immediate family had a pattern where, you know, we were making use of restaurants, always outdoors, right? And we were very careful about windows and things when somebody came into the house. And the problem is the weather is now taking the behaviors that were working and upending them. And so what that's resulting in is a kind of, since we're not in the frame of mind of thinking about COVID every minute of the day anymore, because we've just gotten used to it, we're now, you know, thinking, well, we're not even thinking. So it's the idea is that restaurants were possible because outdoors was safe and it isn't highly transmissible in food. So the temptation is, you know, we're back in restaurant mode where that restaurants are a possibility, but they may again not be a possibility based on the fact that the weather means that outdoor dining isn't happening anymore. So all of these things require sort of a rebooting of the conscious discussion of how can we prevent each other from getting COVID if somebody brings it to a gathering. And this is much more important than some fraction of the population seems to believe at the moment, based on the dire consequences for some people who get this thing, these months and months and months of, you know, myriad different symptoms.
Yep. I will say that on our recent just 4-day trip to a place even farther north than we are now, we went to eat outside at a Mexican restaurant, and it turns out that despite what their website said, they were only open for takeout, but they were selling margaritas to drink while you waited for your takeout. So we sat outside and drank extraordinarily cold margaritas under a very cold sky and darkening sky. And I thought, this is not the conditions under which margaritas were invented. This is not the right circumstance to be drinking margaritas at all.
Yeah.
But the food was good.
Freezing your ass off in Margaritaville.
Exactly.